Hey y'all, it's Cammie, a super fly girl from a little big world, also known as the 919. I know you're wondering, Cammie, what are we talking about? And just how did we get here? Well, let me tell you. Pen and Paper Podcast is bringing you all the feels of a little bit of everything for a whole lot of somebodies just like you. I'm bringing to you real conversations, transparency, and a whole lot of love. This is for my dreamers, believers, and for sure, my debaters. So let's dive in together as we touch on topics of family, friendships, relationships, both inward and out. Come on. Love, music, beauty, and did I mention finances? Oh yeah, we're taking it there. Pen and Paper Podcast is what I like to call your one podcast fits all. Yes. And I can't wait to explore with all of my ladies and my fellas to get just the right perspective and a whole lot of laughs, of course. So sit back, relax, and let's put this pen to the paper, y'all.
Welcome back to yet another episode of Pen and Paper Podcast, where we are always giving a little bit of everything for a whole lot of somebodies. It's your girl, Cammie, and today we are going to talk about success. And when it comes to success, most people desire perfection without the process of failure. Today, this episode shines light on what it means to obtain success in every area of your life while overcoming societal pressures and distractions. Today, I have the pleasure of having Dr. Tyler Woodard, a gynecologic oncologist specializing in cancer surgery and chemotherapy for women's reproductive cancer. As a Black male doctor, he is changing the game to what it means to be a Black man in a white coat. So, Tyler, I just want to welcome you to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So I have a quote, and it says that to always remember that your focus determines your reality. And so I just kind of want you to give an introduction to the people on your journey and choosing your career as becoming a doctor.
Yeah, for sure. So my initial interest in becoming a doctor actually started when I was really young. As you know, I'm from Eastern North Carolina, and many of our relatives, unfortunately, passed away from stuff that they shouldn't have passed away from. So that's like preventable things like diabetes complications and high blood pressure. And I kind of grew up in the hospital on the other side of the table. And so that really sparked my interest on how to make those women in my lives that I care about make their lives better, or women like them make those lives better. And so I went into undergrad, with the mindset that I was going to do medicine, become a doctor. And so I majored in biology and chemistry. And then after that, I took 2 or 3 years off from school and went to Tennessee, actually. And I taught 8th grade science. And that really taught me how to be a professional and how to manage classrooms and have interpersonal skills with my coworkers. And then I just stayed in Memphis for medical school because I fell in love with the city. But then really in medical school is when I figured out that, surgery was what I was great at.
Absolutely.
And so I chose to do a field in women's health. And be a surgeon in that because I felt like it kind of married all of my interests. I know I care deeply about, Black women and how I saw in medicine that, they really don't get the best care because people don't study them. People don't really care about them as much as they care about other people. And so and then they're just not believed when they report to the doctor with symptoms and things like that. So I wanted to kind of change that. And I felt like that was the greatest need. And that's where I could, really take care of the type of people I wanted to take care of. And so after medical school, I moved to New York City and trained as an OBGYN at NYU. And I learned all things OBGYN. And then in residency, I realized that cancer surgery aspect of it was, what where I needed to be. I could be like the counselor that my patients needed. I could be the surgeon for them. And then I also provided their chemo and walked them through a diagnosis that's oftentimes fatal for women.
Yes.
And so that was such a privilege to me. And now I'm in St. Louis, practicing GYN oncology. But it was the long and rough road, but I think it was right for me. And so that's what I've done so far.
I love that. And for those of you that have heard me in the past kind of speak about my journey through school, Tyler, you have been a great inspiration to me as well. And to see your passion and to see you care for people, I think is so important, and which is why I think you were perfect for this episode. So I want to get on, when did you sort of consider yourself to be successful in your journey through your career? Because a lot of times people, may not feel like they've obtained that, part of their life, or, they're still kind of processing through it. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, to be completely honest, I don't focus on success.
Wow.
I focus on the process. Like, I feel like if you focus on your process, you're bound to be successful. And that's not a goal for me at all. Just, like the word success means nothing to me. What matters to me is like, how do I get to the place where I want to do where I can do what I want to do? And so, I think it's all about the process and how do you get there.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think it's in the process that you sort of learn how you can define, your goals and all of it. And so I want to get the fact that you are a Black man. It's one thing to, have a career and all of that. But I want to kind of bring that in too, because if there were no obstacles in your way, would you say that, you've had all the right things to become successful or to be where you are?
I feel like where I am is a reflection of my motivation,
yes,
which like I talked to you about, which is, for way back when I was a kid, seeing, my grandma and my aunts suffer from stuff that they shouldn't have. And I carry that with me. I let myself feel those things all the time. And it makes me a better doctor because of it. Another thing is resources. It's hard to aspire to be something when you have no clear picture for it and have no resources to attain it. And so I was very intentional about seeking out mentorship, which is the third thing, that helped provide those resources, for me to be successful. So it's really those three things: having the motivation and letting that guide you towards the career you want, having the resources and figuring out those people and things around you that can help provide those resources, and then really having good sound mentorship behind you that, helps you make those tough decisions when you're at forks in the road in your career.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I want to sort of emphasize there's always two different things that successful people sort of categorize themselves into. And so there are result driven people and there are goal oriented people. So which one would you say you are? Because as we know, result oriented people only show up for what they think they can get out of it. Right. And so then you have people that are goal oriented, which are people that often are open to help because they know that sometimes, they might not be the best judge of what is best for them. So which one would you believe that you've become throughout, the years of your career?
Yeah, I've learned that society values the results,
yes,
but in order to get the results, you have to have like a 30,000 foot view. You have to have a goal in mind and you have to have a plan to get to that goal. And so I'm definitely at heart. And I feel like how I've gotten here is the fact that I am a goal oriented person.
Yes.
I saw from a very early age what I wanted to do, and I tried my best to craft a plan to get to that goal, and I think it has worked for me. I'm here now, so that's good.
Absolutely. And so with the year, it's sort of just, taking different turns. What would you say has been your, greatest accomplishment this year, if you have one? And how did that, sort of make you feel as a doctor and just kind of journeying through, like you said, with your, your patients kind of with that one-on-one thing? So what would you say is your greatest accomplishment?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have to say during this past year, so part of my job includes research,
yes,
which I actually hate performing and doing research, but it's a part of my job.
Yes.
And I kind of went into it with an open mind, hoping to like learn as much as I could about, clinical research and basic science research. And I would think that my biggest accomplishment in that realm would be I've had the opportunity to present at 4 or 5 different conferences this year across the nation. And my research has won awards pretty much at every conference I presented at. And so that was a really big, happy moment for me because It was something that was so unexpected and I felt so inadequate at it. But I think it just goes to show that if you apply yourself and you plan for the goal that we were talking about, the results will follow. And so I think that's what I've been most proud of myself for this past year. Also, on another note, I think I'm really proud of the personal growth that I've done because if you attain all these things in life and you become whatever you are, but you're still lacking, in your personal mental health and your personal emotional health, and it doesn't really mean anything. You're not able to celebrate those moments when you're doing, great things in the world. So I spent a lot of time working on my fitness, working on my mental health, surrounding myself with like-minded people this year. And so I'm really happy about those decisions that I made too.
And I'm so glad you mentioned the personal, because I think sometimes we can always be so focused on our extracurricular life that we don't kind of look within. And so I guess I would ask, if you were looking at your younger self, did you believe that you would be where you are today? Did you have that in your mind, or was it kind of something that still kind of, takes you aback sometimes?
Yeah, no, I don't think I had it in my mind. I know that that's what I wanted to do. I thought at least that's what I wanted to do. But I think if I were to look back and if I had the opportunity to tell my younger self something, I would just be don't stress about it. It's going to happen. You work hard, things will happen. You work hard, you're blessed, you have somebody praying for you, you praying for yourself, things are bound to happen.
Yes.
So.
That's so good. And so what goals or to-dos in your life have you created that you find sometimes difficult to accomplish? Because we've talked about the good things, but what are some things that you still kind of find difficult to achieve even throughout life?
I think it's important to try to be your most authentic self around every single crowd you're in. What is hard in that realm is that as a Black man, you have to code switch. You have to be able to play on so many different playing fields and be in so many different offices and arenas that it's hard because other people don't appreciate, where you come, your background and what you come from. And so that has been something that I think a goal that I want to keep in mind is that the higher I go in education and the higher I go in my career, I'm going to try my best to just be authentically me in every single setting that I'm in. And then people can like it or hate it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because I'm still going to do well at surgery. I'm still going to care for the patients I love. I'm still going to provide the most excellent care I can possibly be. But I want to do all of that and still be me.
Yes. And I think, Tyler, too, when being a Black person, the fact that we even have to mention code switching is so interesting because we know for other people, this is not even something that comes in a thought process, but we have to find in ourselves to kind of fit wherever we are, when I think being authentically ourselves should be the go-to thing. It should be the standard. But with that being said, I think that with you saying that you still have to push through that is just amazing on its own because it's an inspiration. I think to younger people too, I think this should show them that whatever room you walk in, you have to own it, Absolutely.
Yeah. And like you said, it's very unfortunate to be able to have to think, oh shit, can I say this thing? Or can I dress like this? Is it okay if I wear my hair like this? Is it okay if I have my earrings on at work? Things like that are culturally, okay for you may not be the most professional to other people. So it's hard, but you gotta take chances, talk to your mentorship. Like I talked about, talk to your mentors and figure out what's the best way to achieve your goals.
Absolutely. And so speaking of mentors, has there ever been a person who inspired you and sort of, made you push through, and why was that person that, that go-to for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think in my life, there have been multiple people who have, inspired me to achieve, even, starting off as a very young person. I would say my parents are two of the people, the most, I don't even know how I can even put what they've done for us into words, is because they had no roadmap on how to be good parents, but they studied and they did their best to like figure it out. And I feel like they did that. And so one thing my dad really instilled in me is that you are your own limit. Like no one else in this world can like limit you, even though they may try. They won't stop what you can achieve in your mind, and that reflects how you achieve in your career and in your education. So he really instilled the value of education and the importance of like not letting your surroundings and the people around you limit you from being your best version of yourself.
Absolutely. And so you would say that you took well with that advice.
Yeah, 100%. Like I don't know. I feel like there's a catch-22, because when I was even younger, it was like, there's nothing that I can't do. Your brain and you're just like, if I want to do it, ain't nobody gonna stop me type of deal. And so I'm excited now that I had that, because it definitely got me to this point, and I'm looking maybe in the future to kind of have that for my kids when it's time for me to have children, like explain to them that like nobody can stop you.
Yes. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you're wanting to lead by example, because I think it's important to not only intake, the wisdom that you get from people, just for yourself, but also to be able to spread that information. So productivity is a state of being able to create, particularly at a high quality. So what are the best ways you believe makes a person successfully productive?
I think I can only speak for me, and this is only from experience, but one thing that has really helped my productivity is scheduling. I feel like naturally I'm I guess a type B personality, where I'm cool with just going with the flow for most of the things in life. But I realized that you can't do that in every arena of your life. Some things just require discipline and scheduling. And so I'm glad I learned that at an early age, that you really have to like plan out what you want to do. And my dad was like super type A. So like when we were growing up, it was 6 of us. He had made a schedule for every week of the chores, and like every single day of the week it had my name, what I was responsible for, when my homework was due by a certain time. When he got home, he had to make sure that all of that was done. So it's just like military style, really, like very scheduled and regimented. And that was just not me as a person, even from an early age. But I learned that that is important to have, especially if you want to like, attain those goals. The second thing that I learned is that you really have to make time for yourself. So on top of all of this stuff you're doing for your career, for your life, if you're not taking time for yourself, it is worthless. So you have to like schedule in those times where you're saying, okay, I'm just going to take a break and I'm going to chill by the pool. I'm going to go out with friends. I'm going to, go see a movie. You have to be able to value your personal time, because like I said, it doesn't mean a thing if you don't.
Absolutely. And so I think with balance, I think that's super important. That's pretty much what you're, saying, because I think, you can be focused on your goals. You can be focused on becoming successful, but having that, proper balance is always important. And so what are some things that, you currently do that contribute to your, your happiness and your success? So I know you mentioned with your friends and, just kind of making time for yourself. So what are some other things that, some people can sort of take for themselves too?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge traveler. I've learned to love travel. So honestly, in the past year, I've probably gone to maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 different cities in the past year. Just because I know that is a way for me to like recoup. And like when I put all of my energy into work and other areas of my life, what isn't distracting to me is being able to like escape and go to other places and explore new cities and stuff. So that's my number one thing. Number two, one of those personal self-care things is journaling. I know people think that that's taboo or whatever, but that helps. Sometimes you just don't have the words to put out to say what you want to, how you feel and what you want to say. But I've learned that journaling really is like the inscription of my heart. Like I can just write and say what my heart is going on and just leave it there on paper. Never have to revisit it. No one else has to know. But it really helps heal. So I think journaling has been a huge part of my like self-care and wellness.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because I wanted this episode to kind of, emphasize on the positive side of, being somebody and doing something. So as we come to a close on the show, Tyler, to the Black men, but also to the Black women listening that may, be striving to do something or be someone, may not be in the medical field, but just in general, what would be your piece of advice that they can take away in their road to success and, being the product of something great?
Yeah, I think one thing that I would say is that you might get 1,000 no's, but all it takes is one yes.
Yes.
So I faced that many times in my journey to becoming a surgeon. But like I said, you just gotta have that like, one, the expert mentality where you're always trying to improve on yourself, but two, having that inner drive and inner confidence to say like, yeah, it might be a no, but it's not a forever no. There's always going to be another opportunity. My family used to say, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. You will figure out a way that works for you to get to the goal you want to do. So just don't stop.
Absolutely. I love that. And so I always like to share a piece of advice, and mine is to be present, be connected, be dynamic, involved, available, flexible, and likable, because I think it's so important that through success that that you are somebody regardless of, your obstacles, and anything that you put your mind to, it definitely can happen. So Tyler, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. If you could, would you like to share, where people can find you if they have any questions, any medical questions or anything like that?
Yeah, so you can follow me on my professional Twitter account, which is Tyler J. Woodard, MD. At me there. I'm happy to answer any questions. You can get my email from you, and that will definitely work. So any of those options, I'm available.
Absolutely. And y'all, as you know, we are always giving a little bit of everything for a whole lot of somebodies. We are closing up this season, so we have one more episode to go. So stay tuned, y'all, and we're out.